baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh.
Snoop D-O-double-G is right now under fire for a video for an interview he had on a podcast where he was criticizing Disney movies and a lesbian character that was in the movie. And he basically was saying his issue with such characters. Please watch this clip.
See, it's what you see. They putting it everywhere. So we watching it, and the lady, which is Kiki's mama, they move on into the space years. They move down the line. They're like, and she had a baby with a woman. Well, my grandson in the middle of the movie like, Papa Snoop, how she have a baby with a woman? She a woman. Oh, I didn't come in for this. Came and watched the movie. It threw me for a loop. I'm like, what part of the movie was this? These are kids that we have to show that at this age. Like
that part.
They're going to ask questions.
Yeah.
They are going to ask. I don't have the answer.
So that's it in a nutshell. Snoop Dogg is really about to get canceled by many because of what he said. And now, as you look all across social media, people are talking about, oh, well, Snoop Dogg curses, Snoop Dogg smokes weed, and does X, Y, and Z. Excuse me. He does all this, and why is he to talk, blah, 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 blah. Listen. One of the things that we need to kind of understand in 2025, that two things can be right at the same time. Yes, Snoop Dogg has a lot of questionable lyrics and things he talk about and imagery, and he smokes weed and, language. But that does not discredit his message. He's not anti-LGBTQ. He's not anti-homosexuality. What he is anti the gay agenda. And many Christians, our issue is not gay people. Like this narrative that the church hates gay people, it may be true for some, but for the most part, people who I talk to and even the conservative movement, a lot of it is not about hating gay people. It's the gay agenda. It's the fact that we live in a society that is pretty much trying to indoctrinate our children to say, at a young age, you can change your gender. At a young age, you can decide if you want to be a boy or girl. At a young age, they're being force-fed this type of stuff. I remember one time I was watching Sesame Street with my kids. My kids were 3-4 years old. You see this bull come up on the screen with a dress on. I'm like, yo, what's this, bro? And I had to answer the questions and look at Dad, is that a guy? Why does this guy have a dress on? Type, you know what I mean? To answer those type of questions. And I think that is the issue. There's obviously a gay agenda that for some reason the devil is trying to push out this narrative about gay people. I have no issues with gay people. I don't hate gay people. They have a right to live how they want to live. They have a right to love who they want to love. That is their right and their priority. As a person, I have people who I work with, who I call friends, who are gay. So it's not that I hate gay people. It's not that I think they're let's don't give them any rights. I'm not saying that, but my biggest issue is this gay agenda. Where in schools you're teaching kids about this, where you're seeing things in books and preschool books about having two fathers and two mothers. The movie he was talking about was Lightyear. And it was a movie that I actually wanted to see. But then when I saw this, I was like, nah, it's not for me. It's not, nope. And what Snoop Dogg pretty much is saying is like, yo, it's hard to even go out there and watch and bring your kids to movies, bring your grandkids to a movie and not worry about seeing this stuff in their face. And we don't want to see it because at that age, why are you introducing them to that nonsense, right? That two moms and two dads. Again, a person has a right to do that, but why are you introducing that to someone at a young age? Why are you trying to force and have a kid decide, does he want to be a boy or girl today? Like, it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And that, I think, the issue for many. I think having our kids being exposed to this at a very young age is a problem. And it's not anti-LGBTQ rights and who they are as people. I'm not against that. You know, I'm as understanding as they come. But my issue that I have, the issue that Snoop Dogg is trying to present, is that there is an agenda. Christians will call it a demonic force trying to force feed our children with this stuff. Furthermore, you know, there's a difference between acceptance and affirmation. And not only are we forced to watch this stuff, we also have to affirm it. That we have to say, hey, today you're a girl, today you're a boy. No, I don't have to affirm it. I don't have to agree with it. I don't have to co-sign what you're thinking. Where, hey, you know, do not, I saw one time where my wife was on like a pregnant mom message board or group or something, like Facebook group, and like, oh, what right do you have to label your son, your child, a boy or girl? Let them choose. What are you talking about? It's not let them choose. God assigns us our gender. So one of the things that, on a basic level, one of the things that we are trying to do is saying God is wrong. One of the things that we're trying to do is saying that God did not know what he was doing when he assigned us, or he made us a boy, or he made us a girl. And I am not going against God, because God is omniscient, right? God is omnipresent, and he's omnipotent, all-knowing, everywhere, and powerful. So who am I, that a sovereign God that we have, that I'm to tell God, you made a mistake. When you created me a boy, that was wrong. When you created her a girl, that was wrong. And I'm going to fix it. Nah. And I have the right, the same way folks have a right to love who they want to love. I have the right to say, I don't want my kids exposed to that. I have a right to say, I'm not going to affirm what you want to believe. I'm going to call you what God made you. And that's the way I see it. But there's this force feeding of our children and of society, of the LGBTQ plus movement. And I think that is the issue. Not that you can't love who you want to love. That is your choice, right? That is your prerogative. And also based on that, there'll be some consequences, right? As in anything, right? But I think ultimately what Snoop says, and what I agree with him, is that there is obviously an agenda out there trying to force feed our kids this type of stuff. I think it has to stop. I think Disney is out of order. Sesame Street is out of order, introducing these things to our kids at a very young age. What about the parents? So the choices and the things that the Disney wants to put out there are more important than what the parents want to teach their kids. Because when the kids are exposed to that minimizes the parents' impact and the voice. So why can't I raise my kids and decide when I want to tell them about them, or how I want to introduce them about that? Why must I sit here and force... why must you sit there and force my child to be exposed to that? I remember one time, and what I do, listen, call me a bad parent, call me a bad person, I let my kids know what the Bible says when it comes to LGBTQ. And, you know, and not only that, there is not only this LGBTQ, I guess, agenda, but it's even morphed into this effeminate, this zesty behavior in men, where you have guys wearing nail polish, guys wearing dresses and skirts. Nah, fam, that don't fly with me. That don't fly in my house. I've said this before, and I say it again. I told my sons, if I catch you wearing nail polish, we're gonna have a problem. And they know very clear what the Bible teaches and what I teach, and what I teach and what God says are the very same thing. Coming one time, my son was in kindergarten, and this young boy out there, you know, with nail polish, and he was like, "No, that's not cool. Boys don't wear nail polish. Boys do not." My kids knew very early what God teaches. So even this effeminate, because the Bible says God does not like an effeminate man. So we're not only have a LGBTQ agenda, but now as you look into society, it's an effeminate where guys are wearing nail polish and wearing skirts and wearing dresses and you know their personalities are effeminate, the way they speak. And I blame, and call me extra, I blame these movies, these TikToks where guys are wearing wigs and sounding like women to go viral. That John's a problem. That John ain't cool, bro. That's some nasty work, bro. I think that is also what's causing it to happen, in my opinion. Right? So I agree with Snoop Dogg. I think we have to begin to have this conversation because Disney and these other companies are trying to raise our children. And us as parents, our voice are slowly but surely not mattering. The state, the government, the teachers are going to tell our kids what to think. And our voice and what we say will have no effect. So the danger about the thing that Snoop Dogg said, yes, I'm not saying he's the best person. He's a believer. He's a Christian. He's a man of God. I'm not saying that. But that does not take away from his message. That is scary. That you're really afraid to take your kids to the movies nowadays because you're afraid that you're going to sit there and see two women kissing. Like, that's not cool. Because as a parent, I have a right to say how I want to raise my children and what I want to expose them to. So I think it's very important and very, very major for us to understand that and for us to be able to have this conversation with our kids and within our families. But I do understand what Snoop Dogg is saying. And I do agree with Snoop Dogg. He's completely right. And I hope you don't get canceled for it, for being a concerned grandparent, concerned parent, and speaking his mind. So leave me in the comments. Tell me what you think. Do you agree? Don't agree? But I think, you know what I mean? It's moving kind of crazy. And this conversation needs to be had. But either way, thank you for watching. I love you guys. God bless y'all. Peace.